In junior high, we went away to a camp, and it was actually over a President's Day weekend, and I was super excited, and some of you heard this because I'm the only one sitting there. So he passes me by. Bummer, but I would not give up. Some of you in here this week, and you're like, I'm not giving up. I still got like almost 24 hours before I have to get on different buses and we're going home. So there I was. Okay, I'm ready for this. So the next morning, breakfast comes around, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. People, so I just, got right behind him, and there I was. I was like, this is good, here we go. Have you ever had anything come out of your nose before? It's horrible, especially in front of the guy you like. Okay, so there I was, behind him in line, and it was chocolate milk and cookies, and there I was like, okay, I'm gonna get some of this. Okay, boys, I told some of you this last Wednesday, but when you tell a joke and a girl likes you, she's really gonna make sure she laughs, okay? That's her way of like letting you know, like, ah, okay, that was a good joke, I like that. I'm gonna like over-exaggerate the laugh, right? So you're gonna draw it out. There I was, my beautiful homeschooled innocence, sitting there next to the guy I liked, and he cracked, honestly, it wasn't even that good of a joke now that I look back. He cracked some joke, and out it poured. Chocolate milk, like, all down my nose. He like turns and looks at me, and he's like, do you need a napkin? The only words he said to me, the only words he said. So I obviously, I have a pretty great Valentine now. Even if I have milk come out of my nose, he's gonna be on my team. But look for people like that, okay? So, it's Valentine's Day. So when you grew up and you're homeschooled, you pass out Valentine's. So I obviously wasn't that good with the guys. So now I'm married, we're good. So I thought, since I've taken a few steps since that time of my life, that I'd share some Valentines with you guys. So if you guys are looking to give a Valentine to someone, I got you. Okay, the first one, it's coming up on the screen. This is kind of one that maybe if you really want to make sure a girl knows that she is beautiful, Patrick's got your back, so I love you even if you were so ugly, everyone died. I would love that. Thank you. Okay, next one. This one's all about, now this is the one where you're okay, I don't want to be too serious, but I just want to set some boundaries from the beginning. So, be mine for 2 weeks, and then I'll write a song about you. Okay, next one. This one's funny because you sometimes just gotta play up your natural strengths. Whatever you got going on, you just gotta run with it. So if you have a funky nose thing, you just make it work, okay? Alright, next one. Don't show it yet. Next one. Ladies, I got you covered. You see that guy and you're like, I want you. This is your Valentine. No, not that one. Is there a Beyonce one?
I already showed it, yeah.
Beyonce, you love me! That one, I don't think there's any doubt in there. I don't think there's any doubt in there that, I'm all for you. Alright, so tonight we're talking, not all about Valentine's, we're talking about dreams. And what does God want to do with your life? God's going to speak to you tonight. And I hope he spoke to you last night, and I hope he spoke to you this morning, but I know God is going to speak to you tonight. God's going to give you a dream. And if you've never heard the voice of God before, that can kind of be an exciting thing. And I want you to know there is no voice that will ever compare to the voice of God. Once you hear it, it is so identifiable that nothing else compares. Tonight's that night. Okay. So I started thinking of dreamers and some people that I aspire and I kind of look up to. Raise your hand if you watch the Super Bowl. Okay. We're going to play it. I know. All right.
Too soon.
Or let's just have a cry moment. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Life is not fair. It's not fair. Okay. Let's get over that for a sec. How many of you saw the halftime show? Alright, let's play the clip. This is some dreaming going on here. Alright, let's start. You're not in. Let's check. What are you doing? You are not. You look hurt. Again, left shark. Hashtag left shark. Hashtag you do you, right? Hey, did anyone see that? Like, left shark, like, made it safe for everyone, like, all types of dancing, right? Now, for me, I don't have, like, social fear, so I'll just, like, start dancing sometimes, and people are like, okay, she can dance, but she can't dance, but I'm not gonna tell her she can't dance, because she's not even embarrassed, right? That's what left shark did for us. He actually proved that you can be who you are and still be okay. Okay, side note, my life goal is to meet who was under the left shark costume, okay? So if you have any phone numbers, let me know. All right, but sometimes dreams, they leave us with some questions. I mean, you've ever had questions for God? Like, God, I don't understand this, or I don't understand this. Okay, here are some pictures that I have some questions about. Will you guys help me walk through these? Okay, we can throw the first one up there. Why is Jennifer Lawrence so angry at Taylor Swift? Like, is she gonna bite her? I don't know. There hasn't been an article about a missing arm, and she hasn't wrote a song about it, so we should be okay. Okay, next one. Pharrell, what are you hiding under that hat? What kind of ideas you got up there, Pharrell? There a minion in there? I wouldn't be surprised. Pharrell's kind of a kooky one. Okay, the next one. Yeah, only you can prevent forest fires. Thank you. I have many questions about that. Okay, next one. Okay, come on. What's he so scared about? Does anyone know? Has anyone seen that trailer yet? Yeah. What do you think he's scared about? So to fill some of you in, this is the new Star Wars trailer came out, and that's a clip of it, and people have a lot of questions about why he is so freaked out, and I have the same questions. Okay, we can take that down. God has a dream for your life, and it's gonna come with questions. It's inevitable. It's gonna come with questions. And I remember in junior high, it was such an odd time because sometimes you'd meet those, like, you have awesome leaders, right? Yeah. You have amazing, like, give it up right now if you have loved your leaders. They have gone. You will meet people in your life in junior high that will treat you like an adult. Because here's the truth, some of you have some real adult things going on in your life right now. But there are certain situations, and maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's just someone else in your life that doesn't treat you like an adult, and it drives you crazy. I remember that tension in junior high. Why can't someone just take me serious? Have you ever felt the tension of, I am not believed in as much as I want to be? I felt that in junior high. Felt like there was a cap, like you're still a kid, or you're still in elementary school. You can't even drive. Mom has to drop you off if you want to do something. So I started looking up people that decided I wasn't going to take that for an excuse to change the world now. I want to introduce you to 3 different people that started a dream in junior high. Some of them are your age right now. The first one coming up on the screen, this is Dylan. Dylan's 14 years old. He attends the 8th grade at Wildwood School in LA. First of all, I want to go to the school called Wildwood. That's awesome. Okay, here's what Dylan did. Dylan decided that Dylan loves science. Does anyone out there love science? Okay, I love it, I don't get it, but I like it. Okay, Dylan loved science, and he decided, I have a passion to learn about under the sea, everything that's under there. And so he started this project called Reef Quest. And Reef Quest has a whole international website now. Over 60,000 schools in 48 countries use this program that he developed when he was in 6th and 7th grade to teach their science curriculum now. You are never too young to do something that God has called you to do. You are never too young to dream. The next one, this is rad. His name's Pete Gray. Some of you might have heard of him. Now, Pete Gray was born on March 6, 1915. He was a professional baseball player. From a young age, from like so little, he decided, I want to play baseball. pro. On his team, he held the record for most stolen bases and a batting average. You should see pictures of him bat with just one arm. But here's what happened. When Pete was 6 years old, he got in a tragic car accident. He lost his arm. Gone. At that moment, do you think he had this flash before him, like, what am I gonna do? Has there been a bump in the road for you that you feel like has disqualified you from something that God wants to do in your life? Pete Gray said, no, it's not gonna disqualify me. I have this dream and I'm gonna go get it. 14 years old, and she's from the United States. And I don't know if you know this, but one of the top reasons why people commit suicide in junior high is because they've been bullied, because they don't feel like they're worth it or they're good enough. Patricia decided that she was going to do something about that. And there's a 2-minute video I want you guys to watch, so we can go ahead and play that curtain.
Go kill yourself. Why are you still alive? You are so ugly. Rebecca Sedgwick, an 11-year-old girl from Florida, received those mean, hurtful, tormenting, and embarrassing messages on her social media. They would ultimately lead her to jump off of her town's water tower to her death. In the fall of 2013, I would come home from school to read that story. I was stunned, shocked, and I was heartbroken. How could a girl younger than myself be pushed to take her own life? That's when I knew I had to do something to stop this from ever happening again. But the pain and the misery that Rebecca endured, it had already happened. The damage was done. My name is Trisha Prabhu. I'm 14 years old, and I'm from the great city of Naperville in Illinois in the United States. I'm passionate to stop cyberbullying at the source before the damage is done. I'm a big dreamer, and I believe that everyone should have the right to dream, persist in their dream, and see that become a reality. So when I read Rebecca's story, I immediately wondered, were there any others like her out there that were suffering as well? I'd soon learn that she was one of a countless many. Megan Muir died 3 weeks before her 14th birthday. She hung herself in her bedroom closet, where her mother would find her when coming up to get her for dinner. She'd received messages like, "The world would be a better place without you," on her MySpace account. The damage was done, and Megan suffered the consequences. Tyler Clementi was an 18-year-old student at Rutgers University. He was just getting used to college life and his new gay identity. One day, his roommate and a friend decided to use a webcam and a laptop to stream some of Tyler's most intimate moments with his boyfriend all over social media. The damage was done. Humiliated, Tyler took his life, jumping off of the George Washington Bridge. I wish, more than anything, that I could rewrite those stories. I wish I could make every perpetrator rethink what they did. But what if I could do that? What if I could stop the damage before it was done? Would Megan, Tyler, and Rebecca still be alive today? Cyberbullying is a huge problem. 52% of adolescents in the United States alone have been cyberbullied. And 38% of them suffer suicidal tendencies. Let's look at it from a global perspective. 1/4 of the world's population are adolescents. We're are being cyberbullied. So why do kids cyberbully? Look, I might be biased, but I'm pretty sure that kids are not mean devils that run around with cruel intentions. I don't know about you, that's what I think. And what about adults? Are they nice or mean on social media? Now, when it comes to adults, I wasn't really sure. So I had to do some research to figure that out. So that year, for my science experiment at school, I decided to look at how age affected the willingness to post offensive messages on social media sites. What did I find? This younger age group, ages 12 to 18, was 40% more willing to post an offensive message than an older age group. Okay, the number didn't surprise me. But why? Why was that younger age group so much more willing to post an offensive message?
So Trisha, she goes on and she did something about it. There's going to be things that don't make sense. There's going to be things that hurt in our lives. There's going to be things that you're going to look at and you're going to say, that's not okay with me. That's not all right. But what do I do about it? So Trisha, she decided she was going to go on and she created this program called Rethink. It's a software you can download on your computer, and before it pops up any of those key, like offensive, degrading words, there's a Rethink button that pops up and it has what you want to write to someone in there. And it says, do you really want to send this? And it's a trigger. You're going to rethink about this. Is this really something you want to tell someone? She is now gone into schools. It's now gone into like personal laptops. It's all over. She was invited. That was a TED Talk, a TED Teen Talk. She was one of 15 junior high and high school students that was chosen to speak at this. This program is going nationwide, and she's been traveling overseas this whole last year to get this thing off the ground. I don't want to just hear a dream from God. I really want to do something about it. I just want to let it sit there. So tonight, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Our big idea is God designed you to dream. God designed you to dream. Would you guys pray with me? God, I pray tonight that you will speak to us. God, you'll speak to us of how you want us to dream. God, I pray that you give us your dream. God, I pray that tonight my words will be your words. They will not be mine. This is yours. Amen. Okay, tonight we're going to be talking in Genesis 6. Now, some of you have probably heard this story before. The story of Noah. Anybody heard this story before? Yeah? Anybody? Okay. Noah. The big flood. Noah builds this awesome, gigantic ark. Everybody gets in it. Everything and everyone that's in it is saved. I don't know what just happened. Everyone and everything that's in it gets saved. And then God wipes out the whole earth. God wipes everything. And you might have heard this story when you're a kid. And this might be something that you've classified in your mind, like that's just a story for like when I was in kids theater or when I went to Sunday school. And this isn't relevant to me now. Tonight I want you to have a different perspective on this. So coming up on the screen, there's going to be a screenshot of a YouVersion app. It's a Bible app on your phone. And this is what it's titled in there. It says, A World Gone Wrong. A world gone wrong. Now, when we think of our world right now, we can think of exactly how Noah's world was. Noah's world, everything was out of control. People were totally disobeying God. The world was broken. The world might look a little something like this. I mean, it's hard to even turn on your TV these days and not see something on your television that could break your heart. That you can look at and say, that's not okay with me. How does that happen? Why does that happen? If there's a God and he's really good, why does he let that happen? I don't understand. Can I really do anything to help fix that? God says yes. There's a world gone wrong. And this is why I chose this story tonight. Because I don't know how you when you came here how you viewed God. Maybe you viewed him as someone that's just never quite pleased with you. Nobody that you can never quite mount up to. No one you can ever quite impress. In the Bible, it says God is like a father. And for some of you, you're like, rad, cool. I got an awesome dad. For some of you, you have absolutely no context to what that's like. Some of you, that word father comes with a lot of hurt. It comes with a lot of pain. It comes with a lot of question marks. Because you have these expectations of what a dad should have been and has not been for you. God is like a father. Or maybe you just, I'm going to let you in on a secret right now. I honestly think old people are so weird. They scare me. They scare you? Like old, like so old they can barely walk. Like I'm like, any minute, you're just going to break. Any minute, like you're just going to keel over and I won't know what to do and I'm going to go that way and I just go the other way. I can't handle old people. But maybe you view God as some old, wrinkly guy who kind of looks like Gandalf, who's way up there. But tonight, I want to ask you to wipe away all your expectations and all these images of how you used to view God. Maybe it's this person that's so far away. Because he's not so far away. He's here. He's with you. He's in this room right now. And he has a dream for your life. He has a dream for you. So your life might kind of look a lot like Noah's. It might be titled something like this: a family that never gets along. The death of that family member that ripped me apart. Or it might look like this. It might be depression that eats me alive. I can't tell anybody what's going on. It might look like this divorce that just happened in my family. I feel like it's ripping me apart and I don't know what to do. Your story might look a lot like a world gone wrong. And here's the hope that we have. We have a hope, and it's in Jesus. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down tonight. I want you to write down, you are God's plan to help heal the world. You are God's plan to help heal the world. So it says, top of chapter 6, it says, a world gone wrong. Then you read all this detail of how the world had gone so wrong, and then something shifts, and then God decides to speak, and then it says, then Noah decided to dream. And I imagine that this is exactly what God's saying to you. It says, and then the story of Noah. And this is what God's saying tonight. You might have a problem, and last night some of you raised your hand when David was talking. And David talked about, hey, you need to raise your hand. If you have a problem and you're dealing with something right now and God needs to speak to you, you're going to raise your hand. And I saw those hands last night and I prayed for you. And I want you to know there might be a world gone wrong right now. And this is where God's going to start to rewrite that. And he goes, and then Emma started to dream. And then Morgan started to dream. And then my son, my beloved son, Christian, he started to dream. And then Angela started to dream. A world might have gone wrong, and then I spoke. And then I told you what dream I have for your life. Our time is a lot like Noah's. And God has a story just for you, just like he had a story from Noah. God's going to rewrite your story. Are you listening? So tonight, we're going to start reading this story of Noah in Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to start in verse 6, and it says, we're going to start in verse 5, and it says this, the Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw that everything they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry he had ever made them and put them on the earth, and it broke his heart. Okay, whoa. God was sorry he ever put them on the earth? Okay, Kayla, if God's a really good God, why would he be sorry about that? Like, why would he be like, whoosh, let's wipe the slate clean, I'm done? Why would that happen? Have you ever thought, God, why are you doing this? I've thought that a lot in my life. Thought that a ton in times where I had no answers, where no one else gave me an answer, and I thought that in times where I've tried to pray to God and I felt like he was still silent. And I've gotten away and I've tried to listen, and God was silent. God's not silent. He just wants to know how long you're going to keep trying to listen. Some of you might feel like people just don't understand. Like even my best friend, if I try and confide in them, they don't understand. Some, like I don't even know if my leader would understand. Some of you have like literally had anxiety because of small group this weekend. You've been scared. Is this a safe place? Can I open up here? I want you to know small group is such a safe place. Your leaders come to camp because of conversations that happen in a small group. Yes, they love to run around with you and play and have fun and wear pink and dress up and dance with Boots and Dora. They love to do that stuff, but they come here to have conversations with you in small group. That's why they're here. These are leaders you can trust. These are leaders that have prayed for you. But here's the thing, when God steps in, he decides to make all things new. It's not like God's just in the business of like, oh, that's not good, that doesn't look good. Let's just like tweak this a little bit, let's just dust this part off, let's just like tighten that up and yep, there you go, good, it's new. No, God decides to start over totally new. So this is what it says, this is what he tells Noah. So God looks over all the earth and he says, I'm going to wipe this out, I'm going to make all things new, we're going to start over. And so it says, I will destroy every living thing, all the people, all the large animals, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and even the birds of the sky. I am sorry I ever made them. But Noah found favor with the Lord. And then it starts in this story of Noah. Okay, so why was it Noah? Why was Noah the one that found favor with God? Why wasn't it someone else? Like, was God up there like, oh, that's the lucky winner right there, he wins. Like, was this like a lottery kind of thing? What was this? Was this like God up there hanging out with the angels, like drawing straws, like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Noah's the man. No. Well, I think why God chose Noah is because even in the midst of this dark time, even in the midst where it felt like the whole world had gone wrong, I think Noah was the only one that kept pressing into who God was. Because Noah found favor with God. I have a feeling that Noah was getting into places just like you did this morning, and he was being quiet, and he was listening for God's voice. As followers of Jesus, we're not okay with things like that. We're not okay with evil. We look at that and we say, God, you can fix that. You can speak to that. You can speak to that pain. You can speak to that brokenness. So, Noah says, all right, God, what do you want to do about this? You ever had that moment, you have a problem, and you said, all right, God, what are we going to do about this? It's not what am I going to do about this, it's what are we going to do about this? So God instructs Noah, and he says, build a large boat out of cypress wood and waterproof it with tar. So Noah goes, like Bear Grylls on this thing, and he's like, let's do this. God specifically told him to make the boat 450 feet long and 75 feet wide. Now that had to have been scary. Back then, there was no Home Depot. So how that happened, I don't know. I have lots of awesome questions for when I see Jesus. I'm like, how did Noah do that? It took him a really long time. Some dream that God is going to give you tonight will not happen just like that. It might take you a whole lifetime of trusting God each step of the way. I gotta trust you. I gotta trust you. Now, when Noah got those specific instructions from God, he had him freaked out. God might give you a dream tonight that's way, way too big to handle right now. And that's when you're gonna know it's a dream from God. This isn't something that's you-centered. This is a God-sized dream. So in Genesis 6:17, it says, look, I'm about to cover the earth with a flood like this huge vessel before. This had never been needed. There had never been a natural disaster like this ever in human history yet. God might give you a dream and everyone else around you might not understand it. They might not understand it, and that's okay. When you listen to the voice of God, there's going to be things that won't make sense to everyone else around you, but when you hold on to that, like, this is what God promised me. This is what God told me. God never goes back on his word. Now, I can just totally see this. I can see, like, here's Noah, he's making this whole boat, and then there's his friends. Like, what do his friends say about all this? I can imagine, like, some of the people that made fun of him, like, unpop their lawn chairs, they sit down with their, like, awesome little umbrella drink, and they sip it, and they watch Noah work on this ark that God told him to work on. Has God ever told you to do something but you're scared of what your friends will think? Noah felt like that, I'm sure of it. The next thing I want you to write down tonight is when you hear God's voice, it demands a response. He's going to give you a choice. When God gives you a dream, he's going to give you a choice. And as God gives you that choice, there's going to be next steps. When you listen to his voice, there's continuously going to be a next step. Keep following me, keep following me, keep following me. And the dream might become bigger and bigger and bigger. When you keep your eyes on him, you'll see how much bigger God is than this big dream that you have. So here's exactly what God told Noah to bring in the boat. And most of this I find absolutely hilarious. Now, when God gives you a dream, some of it's going to be funny, and it's going to be entertaining, and it's going to be adventure the whole way. Okay, this is exactly what he instructs him to take in there. He says, take 7 pairs of animals I have approved you can eat. So just think for me for a second. If you could take with you 7 specific food items, what would you take? Okay, chicken nuggets, Skittles, toast. Does anyone else love toast in here? Yeah, toast is like the best. With cinnamon and sugar. Okay, 7 specific animals. These are the ones I have approved you can eat. You can take 7 of them. Boom, go. This is the one that gets me. He says, 1 pair of every other kind of the animal. Now, first of all, how did Noah find them all? How did he do that? And then I started reading this and I was like, oh my gosh, what if he left one out? Like, what if there's some crazy species of worm that Noah never got to and now we won't have it? Okay, whatever. And then, so he specifically places them in the boat. I have another question. Where did he put the monkeys? Where did he put the flamingos? He had to get them all in this thing. You can't put monkeys with flamingos. Everyone knows that. Stuff goes crazy. If you look that up on YouTube, oh my gosh. Then God says, 7 pairs of every kind of bird. Find them. Put them in this ark. And here we go. I'm going to make all things new. Tonight, God's going to make all things new. And some of you need to hear that. Some of you need to feel that. God's the only one that makes all things new. So the story continues, and we're going to read Genesis 7:17 through 24. And it says, for 40 days the floodwaters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the waters rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, rising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living things on earth died, birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all small animals that scurried along the ground, and all the people. Everything that breathed and lived on dry land died, and the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days. I want you to write this down. When Jesus calls you to dream, it won't be all about you. I started thinking of my 8th graders. I started hanging out with you when you were in 6th grade. I'm going to cry like a baby in June when you go to high school and you become too cool to hang out with me. 8th graders. Is your school a place where Jesus has made all things new? For all the students that are continue after you go on? Is that a place? Are you leaving it better than you found it? So I did some math. You guys should be proud of me. You guys have 132 days left of school. And some of you are like, yeah! I want the response to be like, let's do this. Let's do this. How much different is it going to be? Is God going to give you a dream for your school? How different would it look? Would people be more encouraging? Would you have more confidence in yourself? Would you want to go to school more? If Jesus walked the halls of your school, how different would it look? God is calling you to dream about your school. So it says in this passage, it says the water rises over and above the highest peaks on the earth. So naturally, I forgot what the highest mountain was, so I Googled it. It's Mount Everest. Okay, Mount Everest is 29,035 feet above sea level. Cool, super tall. So I started thinking of the tallest thing I've ever probably seen or experienced. That would be the aftershock at summer camp. Raise your hand, and I know some of you went on it with me because I cried like a baby. How many of you have been on the aftershock? There's a picture coming up, and it has the aftershock. Okay, you want to know how the aftershock compares to the highest Mount Everest? The aftershock is 191 feet tall. So to Mount Everest, it's like a little Hot Wheels car. That's how much God decided to wipe the earth. He said, we are going to start all things new. See, when God wants to start all things new, he doesn't just like scratch at the surface. He doesn't just kind of like dust things up. No, God goes all in. Where's your moment tonight where you say, Jesus, I need you to go all in. I need you to make all things new in this area of my life. I don't know what to do. So the story continues, and Noah's on the boat, and I can't imagine, they probably got seasick, and the monkey probably got out 4 times, hanging out with the flamingos, and the lizards were just squirming around, and Noah's wife probably had panic attacks about the mouse that would come in the room. Raise your hand if a mouse came in the room, you'd totally freak out. Okay, thank you. I would totally freak out. Okay, so they are like, let's get off of this boat. There's going to be a time in your life where you're like, God, would you just show up already? Let's do this. God says, be patient, my timing, not yours. When God calls you to dream, it's in his timing, it's not in your timing. So Genesis 8:6-12 says, after another 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the boat and released a raven. The bird flew back and forth until the floodwaters on the earth had dried up. He also released a dove to see if the water had receded and if he could find any dry land. But the dove could find no place to land because the water still covered the ground. And God's timing. This is the hardest part about a dream. To trust God's timing, because we have our agenda and we say, God, right now, I need it right now. I need you to show up for my family right now. My dad just left. God, where are you? If this is your timing, I don't know if I want to trust it. My friend is sick. My grandma, my aunt, whoever it is in your life, that you're like, God, you can have better timing right now. God's timing is the best timing. So it returned to the boat, and Noah held out his hand and drew the dove back inside. After waiting another 7 days, Noah released the dove again. This time the dove returned to him in the evening with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew the floodwaters were almost gone. He waited another 7 days and then released the dove again. This time it did not come back. So these are some things I want to talk about as we end our time tonight. This is what Noah taught us about dreaming. The first one is to dream, you have to have self-control. You have to have self-control. And self-control starts with good habits. Now I think a really good habit you can start now in junior high is your thoughts. You guys, I walked around last circles, said, I am not good enough. I don't amount to what I need to be. I don't know what I'm here for. I hate my appearance. I hate the way I look. I feel insecure and I cannot control this. God's going to speak to you tonight about that. God's going to say, I made you and I love you. Self-control. It's the first thing that you're going to need when you dream with God. Now, I personally know how hard it is to have self-control in your thought life. When I was in junior high, I was a 6th grader, I went to a school for homeschool kids. It's like all homeschool kids get together. Okay, how many of you know Doug? Ready for a random fact? Okay, Doug and I went to the same school. Explains why we're both really weird. Okay, we went to the same homeschool school. Okay, so I'm in this class. I'm in 6th grade. Raise your hand if you're in 6th grade. Yes. Okay, I was in 6th grade. I had study hall with a 9th grader. That 9th grade girl, many times of that year, and each time got worse and worse and worse. And I don't know if you've ever been bullied, but if you have, I know what that's like. She would write hateful messages in letter form, because we didn't text back then. We were homeschooled. And she would say, you are ugly. Like, you think you have it all together all the time. I hate you. No one likes you here. Don't even talk. Have you ever been the person that you feel like you have to have it all together all the time for your friends, but deep inside, you're hurting? I've been there. This girl even took it to the extreme where she wrote me a letter that she was going to tie me up and she was going to burn me and she was going to sell those pieces of me on eBay. Those are words that cut like a knife. Those are words when you lay in bed at night. Take a long time to heal from. And maybe there's words that have been spoken over you in your life that you lay in bed at night and you think of those. Jesus is going to show you a whole nother way of self-control, of how you think. It's cool because a couple months later I went to a camp and it was just like this. And there was a communicator on stage and he shared this verse. It's Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think, according to the power that works within us. And this verse isn't about like self-image. This verse isn't even about self-control. This verse is how great my God is. And at that moment it clicked. I could drop all of my insecurities. I could drop all of the weight I've been carrying of all those words that have been spoken over me in my life. Now I could give them to Jesus. Because it is him who can do exceedingly abundantly more in me than I could ever try and do. And I said, I don't even want to be Kayla anymore. I want to be the version that God has made Kayla to be. I don't want to be wrapped up in myself. And so words that this girl spoke over me didn't define me anymore. Now I realized the only person that was ever going to give me my value was found in who Jesus was. Tonight, that's going to happen for some of you out there. And it's going to happen like that. Because when Jesus shows up, his timing is perfect. The next one that Noah taught us about is to hold on to the promise. Hold on to the promise. I'm going to call the band back up. Hold on to the promise. Now, I don't know if you've ever had someone make a promise to you and then break it. Sometimes that comes in a form from a parent. Sometimes that comes in the form of maybe a mentor, maybe that comes in the form of a teacher. But man, when someone makes a promise, like, are you with me? Like, you're like, I'm counting on you. Like, the form of a promise is like the most formal bond you can say, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And when someone breaks that, trust can go like that, right? Has anyone ever lost your trust before? Maybe it's a friend who talked behind your back at school. Maybe it's someone that was spreading rumors about you, or maybe it was something like I went through. Someone just spoke death over you. I want you to know I know what that's like. And I want you to know that we have a God who knows how you feel. But there's lots of different things that are going to be thrown your way in life. I'm only 22 years old, and I at least have that down. I've got it. Now, the enemy is going to do all he can to always distract you from the promise of God. Now, that can come in a good thing, and that can even come in a bad thing. And that can come in a good thing, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Or that could come in the form of a bad thing, like a divorce. Or maybe you've started to hate yourself so much that you've started to cut. Or maybe you've even been the one that's spoken those words over someone else. I want you to know right now, if you have ever done that to someone, God's looking at you and says, I forgive you. I love what it says about Jesus in the Bible. When Jesus came here, he met people right where they were at. So maybe tonight, you've been that person. Jesus says, I'm going to meet you right where you're at. And get this, Jesus always acknowledged where they were at. He says, okay, got it. He acknowledged their past, but you know what he did? He pointed them towards their future. He says, this is who you're going to become. Girls, there are boys in here that need you to cheer them on. Junior high is hard. Speak to what they will be, not what they aren't. These are going to be good dads. These are going to be pastors. These are going to be business leaders. These are going to be men you will respect. Guys. These girls, the standard of how you treat them, this is where we're going to set the bar. If you have a little sister and you love her more than anything, that is how you're going to treat them. And you're going to tell them what they are. They are beautiful. They are valued. And here's how you're going to know what they are. You're going to listen to the voice of God. God's going to teach you how to respect women. God's going to teach you how to talk to girls. God's going to do that. It's not of what you feel like the world wants you to say, and that's what's going to get you girls. No, it's going to be what God says. And those are held on the pure truth of who Jesus is. Jesus made them. Those are his daughters. That's a heavy weight. I don't know about you, but I want to love them even more now. They're valued, and they're precious, and they're dear. I want to tell you a truth because I know you're old enough to hear it, and I'm not going to treat you like maybe some people have treated you before, like you're a little kid, like you can't dream, and you can't do anything. The number one thing that kills dreams is doubt. Doubt. The enemy is going to do all he can all your life. Like, this isn't just a thing that happens in junior high or in high school or when you're in college or when you get married or when you have kids. This is something that happens all your life. The enemy is going to try and distract you from the promise that is true that God has given you. This is the promise. Now, the promise isn't that you will never have anxiety or depression. The promise isn't that your parents will stay together. The promise isn't that this life will hurt more than you want it to sometimes. The promise isn't that you'll lose someone so desperately close to you. That's not what God promised. before you dream tonight, I want you to know what God promises, because I want you to know it's your choice. You're old enough to make a choice. You are old enough to say, yes, God, that's what I want for my life. You're old enough. Here is what God promises you. God promises you, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I will never abandon you. I will never ditch you. Just try and figure it all out on your own. God will never look at you and say, good luck. Figure it out. He'll never do that. He doesn't promise it's going to be easy. He just promises, I'm going to be with you. I will not leave you. The last thing that Noah taught us about was sacrifice. Now for some of you, that's scary. I don't want to give anything up. I thought God was like for me and we were cool. I'm going to make this decision and like, yes, let's do this. How did you give something up? It better not be my Xbox. Like, come on. It better not be my phone. What if God asks you to change your habits? Can you make that sacrifice? What if God asks you to change the way you talk to your parents? What if God asks you to change the way you trust others? Is that a sacrifice? Can you do that? And some of you right now, you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know if I can do that. Here's the comfort that we have. We have a God that sacrificed for you beyond anything that He will ever call you to sacrifice. God gave His Son. And maybe some of you, you've heard this story before, and some of you, maybe this is the first time that you've heard this, or maybe this is the first time it's really gonna click. God will never call you to give up something, to follow Him, to follow a dream that He has for your life beyond what He has already given. It will never be greater than that, and here's what He gave you. He gave you His Son. His name was Jesus. He came here. He lived a perfect life. Perfect. In the midst of a world that had gone so wrong, you know what He did? He walked around and He called each one of you out and He said, you're going to dream and you're going to dream. And I know this world is so wrong, but you're going to dream and you're going to dream. And how you're going to dream is because my Father who is in heaven sent me. Because my God dreamed, I am going to do what He asked. You were God's dream. Some of you just need to let that soak in for a minute. You were God's dream. So when you go into that mode of, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I don't like the way I am, or I can't be who I want to be, fix your eyes on Jesus. Fix your eyes on the God that made the universe, the God that made all those animals that know how to pack into the ark. The God of the universe wouldn't put any of you here unless you didn't have a purpose, unless you didn't have a dream for your life. He wouldn't do it. So Jesus came. He came because the reason why we are now able to dream is because Jesus was God's dream. And He hung on that cross and He was beaten and He was whipped and He was spit on. Some of you have felt like you have not been treated right. Jesus knows how you feel. Some of you are hurting. Jesus knows how you feel. Some of you have been abused. Jesus knows how you feel, and He hung there. And He thought of you. He says, I'm going to do this so you can dream. I'm going to do this so that you won't, this is not my plan for the world. My plan A is through you. My plan A of how we're going to heal this world is through you. It's through junior hires in Kitsap County in 2015 with you want to say, yes, God, I want to follow your dream for my life. So there was Jesus. He was hanging on this cross, gasping for breath. And as they taunted and as they mocked and his friends left him, there might be times in your life as you follow Jesus that everyone's going to leave you. Everyone you counted on won't come through. Everyone you looked up to, your leader might leave youth, and you're going to be like, now what do I do? I'm lost. And God's going to say, keep your eyes on me. It's not a leader that defines your dream. It's God that defines your dream. So Jesus hangs there with his last breath. He yells out, it is finished. And he dies and he ascends into heaven. And in that moment, I can imagine the followers of Jesus. There was doubt. There was anger. There was rage. There was what the heck? That wasn't supposed to happen. There might have been a moment in your life where you feel like, God, you didn't come through. Why did my mom die? Why? You need to know this. You need to know that Jesus didn't just stay there. And he has not left you. On the third day, friends of Jesus were going to visit him, and they opened the tomb, and it was empty. Completely empty. God will never stop dreaming about you, and the Bible says he never stops thinking about you. His thoughts about you are endless. You! So when you sit there, and you think, God, I don't know what to do. God, I'm not good enough. God, I don't know if I can dream. God says, it is finished. On the third day, I rose again, and I am with you. And that's why God is in this room right now. That's why Jesus is calling you right now. And he says, this is the dream I have for your life. This is why there is no sacrifice that will be too big. This is why that voice, when you want to hear the voice of God, you get away. You say, Jesus, I am yours, I am willing, and I am listening. This is why there's no problem my God cannot solve. There's no disease my God cannot heal. There is no need he cannot meet. There is no heart he cannot mend. There is no evil he can't take out with you. That's my God. Tonight I have a question for you. Are you ready to say yes to Jesus? Are you ready to say, God, whatever it takes? It might be hard. I might lose people along the way. But God, because you dreamt about me, because you chose to think about me, God, I get to dream now. And I want to dream. If you're ready to dream, on the count of 3, I want you to stand up. 1. Tonight is your night. You're like, yes, Jesus. I want to dream. I want to follow you. I know I have to have self-control. 2. I know it's going to take sacrifice. And I know it's going to take, I have to hold on to the promise that God, everything else might go crazy, but you will never leave me. I'm going to hold on to that promise. Tonight, if you want to say yes to Jesus, if you want to say yes, I want to dream, God, yes, I want your plan for my life. 1, 2, 3. I want you to stand up. God's writing your story. He's writing it right now. Here's the awesome thing about Noah, you guys. When Noah had followed God's plan, he did all this stuff and he did the specifics and he said, okay, God, here we go. I'm going to close the doors of the ark. And there had to be this moment like you're feeling right now, like, okay, did I just do expectation that wasn't met. Maybe it was a promise and someone let you down. Tonight, that does not define the dream that God has for your life. You're going to come up here and we have pens, or you can bring your pen. You can do whatever you want. You're going to write. I'm leaving this behind. I'm shutting the art and I'm following. I'm going forward. Okay, here's some instructions I need you to listen to. We're not going to write on those big pallets on there, okay? It's just these guys. Just for clarification. We're going to write on these. We're going to come up here. You're going to write leaders in the back. There are verses that have been printed off. You're going to go back there. Ryan's going to have them, and Ben's going to have them. Grab them. You're going to go back to where you've been sitting tonight. Students, you're going to come up here, and you're going to write down where you're going to leave to follow that plan that God has for you. What are you going to leave? What do you need to give up? You're going to leave that on here. Then you're going to go back, and you're going to find your leader, and you're going to get a verse, and that is your promise. This is what you're going to cling on to. Because Noah, number one, he shut those doors and he said, I am done with this. I'm leaving this behind. And you know, in that moment, he had to hold on to something that was tangible and something that was not going to break. That verse that you get is the verse you're going to hold on to this year. He said, Jesus, I'm going to dream with you. I'm going to go with you. And this is my verse. This is what I hold on to, even when I doubt, even when I get insecure, even when I feel like I don't know if I can go on anymore. I'm going to pray. We're going to leave it up here. The band's going to play for a while. We're going to go into 2 songs of worship. And like Channing said earlier, we get to worship not because of us and how awesome it makes us feel, because we have a God that allowed us to dream. We have a God that has set us free. We have a God that said, I'm not going to leave you in a world that has gone so wrong. That's my God. If you stood up tonight, that's your God too. And hey, if you didn't stand up, he can still be your God. I'm going to pray. Put an arm around somebody. We're all about the same height. God, I thank you for tonight. God, I thank you for the story of Noah, and that God, it's relevant to today. So God, I pray as students come up here and they write down, God, what they have to leave behind to follow you. God, I ask for courage. God, I pray that you make them brave. God, I pray for small groups tonight. God, let there be topics. God, let there be conversations that have never happened before tonight. Because God, you are a God of healing and you are a God of order. And God, we cling to you tonight. Jesus, thank you for the dreams you've planted in Kitsap.